about 2,500 rounds in on the Archon Firearms Type B1. Wanted to give you a little video to go along with the written review where I go a little bit more in depth, but wanted to show you the gun and the different things that it comes with. So manual, if you're into manuals, this is a nice one. It comes in color and it's big. Your lock, some CLP, it smells good, it works, I like it. Now this is probably the nicest case I've seen a gun come with in a while. It's thick. It's waterproof, and it's from Malterra. Pouch for your gun. It's thick and padded. Comes with 4 magazines. There's spots for 4 magazines. The base plates are marked, so you can actually mark them with numbers or however you do it. Give you a paint marking pen so you can mark it with a silver pen. So, all right off the bat, it looks pretty cool to me. These serrations are super useful, not only on the rear, which most guns have, but the front serrations are really important as well. And this little, cut down on the slide just gives you a good reference point or an index point to be able to manipulate the slide. You'll see the front sight is a fiber optic, and that front sight is pretty narrow. Your rear sight is going to be a notch sight, and it is blacked out, serrated to break up some of that light. The front edge of the rear sight is flat, so you can use this sight to rack your slide. They are billet steel, so they'll hold up. The front sight, while it's narrower and taller, the rear sight notch is also a little bit narrower. What that means is it may be a little bit more difficult to pick up your front sight when you're looking through the rear sight. Your sight forgiveness is a little bit better with a narrower notch, even though it takes you a little bit more time to pick it up. Once you get your natural presentation and point of aim with this, you'll be picking up the sight a little bit quicker. Really nice slide stop. It has like little grooves on the top but not the bottom, and it's kind of a teardrop shape, so it's very natural. It doesn't interfere when you're getting that too good-handed grip. It is only on the left-hand side, and it's not ambidextrous or reversible. Probably one of the nicest feeling mag release as far as a button that I've had. It extends out quite a bit, as you can see here. Maybe there's going to be some issues with it being pressed down with your grip or in your holster, and the magazine would come out. But the reason it doesn't is because this little raised panel right here kind of protects the button from being pushed down. Now I have small hands, but I'm easily able to manipulate the magazine release. It is reversible. It's not ambidextrous, so you will have to switch it out, but switching it to the other side if you want it on the other side is really simple. So all you're going to do is flip your magazine, insert it backwards, and the magazine release comes right out. Put it in on the other side, remove your magazine, and now you're good to go. You can see the beaver tail right here is extended. It's very long, allows for that good high placement. About this little tab that kind of extends in that beaver tail. Apparently what it's supposed to do is activate this tendon to kind of sure up your grip a little bit. I personally don't know if it works. I can't feel it really. Some people have said they don't like the way it feels, but I honestly cannot tell that it's there. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't notice either, but it does feel, you do get a nice firm grip, so if that helps, it helps. If it doesn't, I don't know. As you see, when I move this, the light reflects off it a little bit differently, right? In here and all that. This is what Archon Firearms calls grip mapping, is its directional stippling. So as they looked at how the gun moves as it recoils and said, okay, well, let's place stippling in a direction that would counteract that. It's rotating this way. We want to push the gun or keep the gun from going this way, so we'll make it more grippy this way and less grippy that way. It's a difficult thing to quantify. I like very aggressive grips. I put Talon grips on my hand, on my EDC carry gun, so I like a lot of grip, and this while it looks pretty aggressive, it is not aggressive. The trigger guard here is a little bit larger than a standard trigger guard on the inside, and that's so if you're wearing gloves you can still access it, and they do get a pretty good undercut right here, so you can still get that high grip. The mag well is completely open, kind of flared out in the back and sort of flared out on the side, so it does do a good job of kind of routing that magazine into where it's supposed to be. There is a notch on the front that helps if you're stripping magazines. It's a metal trigger shoe. There's no integrated safety, and where you know, you have that tab like on most of your striker fired guns. So if that bothers you, this is flat on the front. It's not completely vertical, but it is a flatter face of the trigger shoe, and it breaks pretty nicely. So here it is. Here's your take up, and once it gets to the wall, it goes to the wall very quickly, and there is a noticeable wall right away. As I move it, you see it move just a little bit. There's the break, and the reset point is right there. Here's your break. Show you once more. Reset. It seems about vertical right where the break is, so it does feel like a flat face trigger. So let's talk about how this gun functions, how to take it down. There are no little takedown levers over here like your Glocks and things like that. It is a pin, so basically like a Glock, you're going to remove some of the pressure off the locking block, press in on this pin, and pull out your pin all the way. You're going to pull the trigger, and the slide's going to come off. All right, so that's where you go. So let's look at the slide real quick. A little bit different than what you're used to or what I'm used to. There's not a lot of areas for stuff to fall into. If you see here, a little bit different profile as you're looking through, and yes, this is supposed to be bent like that. If you're familiar with P320, where the integrated fire control unit with the trigger unit and the striker assembly and all that is the serialized portion, this is the same way. Okay, in the future there may be different size grip modules, maybe, you know, different in length or grip length or whatnot, but you can certainly envision that happening in the future. So if you're field stripping or just doing your basic cleaning, this is all you need to do to break down the gun. All right, let's go to the slide. Here is your recoil spring and guide rod, and it's a little bit different. It's a stainless steel. These two are integrated into the guide rod, but this is uncaptured. So there's your, so you remove this locking block. Here is your barrel. I didn't mention it earlier, but as you can see, that front sight screw right there looks very familiar. Uses Glock 19 sights. All right, but let's talk about how the gun actually functions during recoil, and this is kind of what the big selling point, or one of the big selling points of the Archon is. Okay, so I mentioned that it does not have a tilting barrel design. So if the barrel doesn't tilt up, how is it rotating, or what's going on while it recoils? This, what they call the AF, Archon Firearms, Speedlock, okay, and that is what locks the barrel into place. That is what moves during the recoil. So the barrel is not rotating. Nothing is rotating like in your PX4 Storms or anything like that. In the written article, I link you to a video that Arsenal Firearms, which is the parent company of Archon Firearms, put together as far as how this AF Speedlock works in their Strike 1, which is kind of the big brother of this gun, and how they measured the amount of muzzle rise compared to other firearms, found that this produced the lowest muzzle rise. Now, does that mean across the board this is going to make you a better shooter, and that? I don't think so. But it certainly can't hurt if you're doing everything the same. These slide rails are full length, as opposed to your Glock slide rails right here that are 1, 2, 3, 4. All that means is that the slide is going to be locked up a little bit tighter on to the frame. Okay, there won't be as much margin of error for that slide to move. Does that mean it shoots more accurately? I don't know. I mean, yes, yes, it will if everything's considered the same and you are putting this gun in a vise, or you're a competition shooter where you can, feel minutes of angle and things like that. But for most shooters, me included, self-defense distances, you're not going to, pick up this gun and say, oh my gosh, this is 10 times, more accurate than my Glock. What are the benefits of this whole system compared to your Browning tilt-up type barrel? Maybe reducing a little bit of the muzzle rise, maybe moving the recoil impulse, felt recoil impulse a little bit further back, maybe more controllable, right? Because back here instead of up here. Reducing that tilting barrel coming up and down. We talked about locking up on the full slide rails, maybe giving it some more inherent accuracy in the gun itself. If you look here, when I insert this magazine, how in line the follower of the magazine is with the barrel, okay? That's because as this cycles, it doesn't have to tilt. So there's less angles to be navigated by that round. And so you'll see here that this feed ramp is pretty small, wider, but it's shorter. And I think what that means is that this will be a little bit more forgiving with different types of ammunition. And I found that to be the case. I shot probably 5 different types of ammunition through this gun, hollow point and full metal jacket, different grains, throughout this 2,500 rounds, and I have not had any problem. I had one failure to extract, and that was probably in the first, I believe it was around 1,200 rounds. This is a 15 round capacity, just like your Glock 19, 15 round magazines. Barrel length on the Type B, 4.29 inches compared to 4.01 inches. So slide length is 7.16 compared to 6.85. That's the biggest difference between these two guns. If we go from the top of the slide to the bottom of the magazine with the magazine inserted, your Glock 19 is going to be 5.04 inches and the Type B is 5.12. To me, is if you can conceal a Glock 19, you will have no problem concealing a Type B. The weight with the full magazine, the Archon is a little bit heavier. This is 34.29 ounces and this is 30.16. So one thing that we have to look at is the difference in cost, because that is a huge thing. We can talk about all the features and everything, and that's great. And yeah, there's guns out there that I would love that have awesome features that cost $3,000 and I just can't afford them, right? So the cost is very important. You're probably going to find a Type B, depending on where you're looking and sales and things like that, around $850 compared to a Glock 19, and you'll probably be able to pick that up for about $650. So about $200 is a big deal, especially up front. However, I will say that the trigger is much better on the Archon Type B. Leaps and bounds. The sights, the factory sights are much better. Even if you upgrade to the Glock night sights, these are vastly superior. Now, I am not a big fan of fiber optic sights, but these stock sights are much better. If you care about ergonomics of the gun and things like that, an extended slide stop is important. The standard slide stops on Glocks are not the greatest, right? They're really flush, and sometimes people have some difficulty. So this slide stop, if you have to upgrade on the Glock, is going to cost you money. Magazine release, much better. The stippling or ergonomics of the grip and the undercut, it's going to cost you money to do all that stuff, right? If you add another magazine or two to a Glock, you're right. You're either at or more than what it costs for a Type B. Does that mean the Glock 19 is worse than this gun? I don't think so. There's certainly nothing wrong with the Glock 19. You can run it stock and be totally fine. There's nothing wrong with the stock Glock other than the sights. But you certainly can run a stock Glock with upgraded sights for $50, and you're about at $700, and you're still less than the Type B. This firearm, if you can invest up front, and that's something that you want to do, then get it. Now, there is one huge drawback in my mind. It's like Archon missed the mark with, is that this needs to come in an MOS or optic ready configuration. Currently they don't have one. I'm sure it will come down the road. So there you have it, the Archon Firearms Type B 9mm. Very unique gun, has been reliable for the first 2,500 rounds, haven't had any problems. We will see if it withstands the years of abuse that the Glock has, with the Glock 19 being such a reliable firearm. We will see. If you do have a Type B, leave some comments in the notes what you think about your firearm, and check out the full review at concealedcarry.com, and stay safe. Thanks.